We good, Andre? Episode 13, Froning and no friends. We don't have anybody
today.
Dre backed out on us. We didn't have their fourth mic. We were going to get Dre out here.
He got lucky is what he got.
Why are you adverse to coming around here and doing this?
Why don't you want to be on this side of the camera?
What's the deal?
Granted, you never know what you're going to say, so...
It's for his own safety if you can't hear what he said.
We do have a special guest that probably take up 2 shows next one. We got Hillary coming next
that's
episode.
Gonna be great.
Yeah.
That could be a 2-hour special, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want that.
Oh,
I don't want that.
It's gonna be so
I may leave
fun.
about halfway
Do we
through
need to tell him kind of what the plan is?
Oh, no, it's going to be a surprise.
We're going to surprise, because we kind of have a plan.
Yeah, and it's going to be spectacular.
I can't wait. This is a roast of Rich Froning.
Do you know who Chuck Woolery is?
No.
No, okay. I want you to look this up. We'll be right back in 2 and 2. Okay. You look that up. And that's what's coming.
Hillary just...
I'm Chuck Woolery.
We're going to be so good.
Yeah.
Is it just a roast? Is that what we're doing?
No. It's going to be fun.
It's like I think you guys will actually really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's more like a game.
It's going to be good. People are going to love it all across the world.
Great.
It's going to be exciting.
Great. Yeah. So, Elly.
Do you believe that yo-yos were used as weapons by warriors in the Philippines in the 16th century?
That sounds like a useless fact, but could possibly be a fact.
I don't know. I'm asking.
Are you looking it up?
No, you look it up. You're the fact checker.
No, I'm saying, did you actually see this somewhere, or you just...
No, but okay. I have a really good next point.
So you just completely made that up out of thin air?
I didn't make it up. I read it. I'm not telling you where because you'll criticize me.
Can we get one of those Alexas for here so that we can actually not have to look it up? We can just ask Alexa?
That's what we should.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to name it Jim Silver, though.
Jim Silver. Hashtag Jim Silver.
You know what I read in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, though?
What?
This is wild. In Japan, there is a Coke product called
Product?
Yeah.
Coke,
It
what
is
did I tell
believed
you?
that the yo-yo most likely originated in China. The first historical mention of the yo-yo, however, was from Greece in the year 500 BC. These ancient toys were made out of wood, metal, or painted terracotta discs and called just that, a disc.
But they weren't weapons. Type in as a yo-yo a weapon in any culture or something like that. So Coke has a product in Japan that is just Coke with a laxative in it.
Oh.
And they think it's healthy. So when they eat like pizza and stuff, like the family says on pizza night, we drink, I think it's like Coke Plus or something, the laxative, and it makes them all feel healthy.
Yeah.
That's not healthy?
You mean healthy as in the...
It has a stamp in Japan that says this is a healthy drink.
I feel like that's not right. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
Do you know there was only one way in modern times that you can contract leprosy? Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Modern times?
Modern times,
Yeah.
Today, Western civilization, only one way.
How?
To eat poorly prepared armadillo.
What?
Yeah.
That's a great... I'm so proud of you.
I know. How was that?
What a great fact.
I actually heard it on someplace else today. I stole that, but...
But you heard it somewhere.
So on a message board, it says, the way I got it was that in island areas between Asia and Australia, a throwing rock would have a very long twine on it. It would either have appropriate bulges or a hole drilled through it so the twine would not slip off. The hunter would be in a tree and wait for the prey, then throw the stone. If it hits, great. If it does not, they can just pull the rock back up for the next victim. I don't know.
I don't know.
That kind of sounds like... I mean, isn't that like a weapon used back in like biblical times? A rock with this
a slingshot.
That's a slingshot.
No, a slingshot is this.
No, that's a modern slingshot.
There's an old slingshot.
Yeah,
That's a slingshot.
You had a rock in a pouch. You grabbed the thing or the string, and you let go at one side, and it flung the rock.
That's
really?
It had like a pouch in the middle of it, and
Yeah.
then 2 strings, and you put the rock in there, and then closed it up and spun it.
I heard that, but I didn't really connect the dots. Well, can I ask real questions now? Can I ask you guys some real questions?
In a second. I'm going to look up Jim's fact.
No, yeah.
Fact check.
I was going to say that I think that there are much more...
98% of the population is genetically unsusceptible to contracting it, and these days it is highly treatable and not nearly as contagious as once believed. And as for armadillos, the risk of transmission to humans is low. Only the 9-banded armadillo is known to carry the disease.
Okay.
I don't know what the heck that means. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
And then the other number, here's the other number. How many animals does a house cat or house cats total kill per year?
How many animals?
How many animals? Rodents.
I don't know.
birds?
When I was home last, my cat destroyed this
My
innocent
cat
little
is a
bird.
killer.
Just
He brought a
it just
rabbit
was
in the garage the other day.
just slurping up
Stone
the
cold
intestines.
killer.
Yeah.
It was gross.
So how many? What's the
year?
number in a year?
Indoor, out. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, just like total. Like
But
cats.
it's different than indoor and outdoor.
I don't know about that.
Dre, has your cat ever murdered anything?
Dre's cat. Oh, here we
Dre's
go.
got
That's
a
what
great
we should.
cat. Crud. We'll just save it for when he's on.
What's the number? Just guess. 'cause
42
42 what?
animals and things.
No, I'm talking about total. All the cats.
Oh, in the world?
There's a number out there.
A year?
I think
Millions.
I think that it was the United States. The number I heard,
That's
and
like
I could be
asking how
wrong
many
about
bugs
that.
spiders eat a year.
But
That's
they have
hard.
a number. They had a number.
There's no way to calculate that.
3.7 billion birds and 20.7 billion
What?
smaller animals.
Yeah.
Including
Billion.
mice, voles,
Billion.
chipmunks.
With a bee.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Stone
have guessed that.
cold killers.
The study
Slitting
also
throats.
concludes that
Slurping
cats are likely the
intestines.
#1 killer of birds and small mammals in
I
the country.
get that. That happens a lot.
Or if it's Matt Hewitt's dog.
So I was watching another podcast, and this guy's letting this little squirrel that he's kind of like nursed back to health.
Oh, I already saw it. I watched it
He
out on the
showed
tree.
us. It was
He's
horrible.
like, here, just keep going, keep going. And all of a sudden, this
do
cat
it.
just rah, takes it out.
And then the
It was on,
screaming in
I
the background.
think it was on Barstool Sports, is what
It
I saw
was
it on.
screaming.
It was hilarious.
Somebody was just screaming.
Yeah,
It
she's
was so
shrieking
bad.
like, and I mean the squirrel is shrieking as
Yeah.
well because it's getting mauled by a cat. But
Right.
it was
My
you should
dad
watch the
raised
video.
squirrels. And
He raised squirrels?
Yeah, and they used to like go across like our blinds and stuff, and the one loved vodka. So
Okay.
every night, like my dad like would have like this like vodka crayon sitting there, and this one squirrel like he would always just sneak down and just stick his head in. And I have a video of it. I can show you.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning here. Your dad is a highly educated,
He's an
extremely
attorney.
intelligent attorney, right?
He loves
And
animals.
the hobby was raising squirrels, which I
Well,
didn't know this was a thing, actually.
He found baby squirrels, and this is another fact to check. Is it true that if a human or someone touches the nest, then the mom won't come back?
I've always heard that with birds. I don't know how true that is.
Well, that's what he said anyway. So there were 3 little baby squirrels in there, so he saved
Which are
them.
basically glorified rats.
No, they're not. They have fluffy tails, and they're.
That's the only difference.
You're gonna. Anyway, so he nursed them back to health, and he like would wake up in the middle of the night and feed these things
Wow.
and whatever, and he just loved like guests would come over and he'd like bring Rocky or whoever out to sit on
And
his
they
shoulder.
won't attack or anything. They're like just
No, but when they get
docile
older,
and-
they're wild. They're not like it's not like they're tame and they sit there. Like they're
Right. I don't
I don't
jumping
think
from
you can
like
domesticate them.
no, not at all. Like it'll go from your shoulder to like.
Well, can't you
the
get like
blind.
flying squirrels? Can't you domesticate those? Sugar
Yeah.
gliders or whatever?
They
know
gave him
anything
one of
about
those, and
that.
he wasn't into it. They snore all day. They're nocturnal, so they don't want to play with you during the day. So he's like, he was given a gift of like this little baby squirrel that just snored all day long, and like, man goes to bed at 7:30. Like, I'm not playing with a squirrel at night, you know. So anyway,
Yeah.
he would just bring the squirrels out, and there was
so
just
many
that.
jokes there, and I just went right past that
Let it go.
because it's going to be on a podcast.
Anyway, I'm gonna try to pull up the video, but he just had one that would just come up and just get into the vodka. all
Wow.
the time. Whenever it was out, he was there. Squirrel drinking vodka. You ready?
I can't find that
A
video.
drunken
What?
squirrel.
A drunken squirrel.
He's
No,
got a
it's not
video of
that.
it. But for the folks at home,
Yeah, who can't see this? What are we talking about?
We're
This?
gonna
Why
have
are we
Sorry,
videoing
but
this?
it's really good. Anyway, sorry. Back onto real life.
wow,
So,
I'm
Jim,
not really sure what happened.
I don't
there.
know about any of that.
I'm gonna show you. You're gonna love it. We can show Dre too.
Right.
That was a
Dre doesn't
wasted
wanna see.
3 minutes.
I
right
know.
there.
I'm sorry. Jim, why is mindset training and coaching so important to you?
Wow, we're shifting gears hard.
That was that wasn't even a warm up there. That was like
How much squirrel drinking
Boom.
vodka can
From
you look
drunken
at?
squirels to my life's work.
done.
No,
what do you
I-
got there? What do you got there, El? Yeah.
We have to segue into something real.
Maybe
at some
that's
point.
what my Instagram should be. #drunken squirrel.
Hashtag drunken
No,
squirrel.
Jim,
Hashtag.
Jim Silver.
Why is it so important to me?
So, I'm not saying you personally. Tell us your life story right now. Why do you think that mindset training has such a huge place in CrossFit? Based on, so you always talk about
Yeah.
what you've observed,
Right.
seeing Rich, seeing the team, being part
Right,
of
right.
everyone's training and your own personal training. Why did you wake up one day and go, you know what? Like, there's a huge place for this in this arena.
I think so. I want to back all the way up and make sure that we
I'm so sorry.
set this up the right way because
Proper warm up.
I'm sorry.
as we and you help me with this. as we have discussed why this would be important and something that we'd want to, we want to put out there. It's not a motivational thing. It's not a hoorah thing. It's not a,
it's not fluff.
It's not that at all.
It's not fluff. It's not just word, or not just like,
right.
You can do this, or if you can dream it, you can do it. Because I hate that crap.
No. There's so many people out there doing those kinds of things, and it's really fake. And then for me, mindset stuff is not even as important, because I think there's some really important, psychological things that we can talk about, which are important, and understanding some physiology is really important. But what we're doing is a little bit deeper than that, in that we want someone to actually create a code.
Yeah, self-definition.
Why are you unique?
Yeah.
Right.
Why do you matter? And I think this idea of living in this culture that we live in, where there's a giant identity crisis. All the way to, we don't know whether we're a dude or a chick. Yep. It's a big deal right now. So being able to say, hey, this is why I'm unique, and this is why I matter, and then living from that, most importantly, being able to come out into the world and create something for yourself, and then, then maybe compete or go to the office based on those things. I think that's important. And so
I think if you don't know who you are, that's the first step, is figuring out who you are, what's important to you, what makes you tick. And if you don't have those things in line, what are you doing and why are you doing it?
Because there's no clarity there.
To go with what Jim says, we can do all these different things, but who are you? Who do you be? That's your phrase. But it's like, if you don't know who you are, all this other stuff's kind of pointless.
Right. Well, you're not starting from a position of strength. The foundation that you're living from, competing from, is not something that's really, really going to hold up.
No. So if you have to fall back on that,
in pressure. Yeah. Under pressure. I love your story, falling off the rope. And I think we've talked about it before, that's where you and I kind of, all of a sudden, what I have in common with you and what I believe is true.
Darkest hour.
Boom. They crossed. And, wow, this darkest hour in your life, which was falling off the rope, and then going back and going, wow, what's really important to me here?
Who am I?
Who am I? Well, why am I doing what I'm doing? But most importantly, who do I be? Right. What are my values? How do I apply my talents and connect those to my values, and then live in some kind of purpose? And then I think this whole mindset idea has some merit to it for sure.
Right. So it's so much more than that.
Yeah. And I don't want to, it's cool. We're calling it Mayhem Mindset, but I don't want to, I struggle with that sometimes, because I don't want to get pigeonholed that,
right. It's just mindset stuff.
Because that's really not what we're doing.
I think it's self-definition, really. When you get down to it, it's you figuring out who you are and what do you believe in.
You're not really a person until you have some language that can describe who you are.
Absolutely.
Our thoughts, what we're thinking in our mind, is mediated by what we say and what we can write. So in that darkest moment, or just in the moment of great opportunity, if you really can't articulate, here's who I am, here's what I believe, and here's where I'm going,
to guide where you're going.
Yeah. What's the path that you run down in life? And in the culture that we live in, there's so much emotion. Emotion is really where people come from. Give me an opinion. We can tweet it. We can talk it. There's no accountability.
Everybody has a voice.
Yeah.
So can we rewind for a second? Because I think that's really interesting.
So we should have warmed up with this first.
Good. You see, I knew he would know how to do it. So if we rewind, do you actually remember falling from the rope? Mm-hmm. What was going through your mind in that moment and the next day?
Get up the rope was going through my mind while it was happening. Nothing else, honestly. It was just like, hey, figure this out. There was people. If you go walk back and watch just the video, we were in the tunnel for 2 hours. We were underneath the stadium for 2 hours. People were leaving. This is my first games experience. I knew some people, but not great, mostly just from watching videos. So you didn't really, you talk to people and you kind of didn't know, but it was my first experience anything competing as an individual. I'd competed at sectionals and regionals, but and so you're just literally, you're in a room with people that you don't really know. You're just seeing what they can do on videos, and so you're sitting there, and this is kind of not really part of it, but part of it is 6 people leave and they don't come back. And so you're just like, it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
It's like the Coliseum.
Yeah, and so you're just like, okay. And so There's some workout equipment. You don't know if it's one event, if it's two events, if it's three events, if it's
Oh, you're
heavy
saying
lift.
people disappeared like you didn't know the event.
No, we're in this room. No social, no phones,
Right.
no TV,
Gosh.
nothing. There was some grapes and some strawberries and maybe some crackers, and that was all we had. Some water, and we weren't allowed to go outside the room, only to pee. There was a curtain up that you couldn't go outside.
What place were you in at this point?
I was in first, I was in first by I don't know how many points, but it was back when we just did it by positions points.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dave comes back there finally, and it's our time, and so we all go out there, and everybody's taking their shirt off, and he goes, "I put your shirt on. It's pretty effing hot." He didn't say effing, but it's pretty hot out there. And so literally you're just getting pulled out. I'm the final one out. So Dave says, all right, the workout is 30 push-ups, hand release push-ups, climb up over the wall, 21 overhead squats, 3 rounds for time, 3, 2, 1, go. And everybody's just kind of like, if you watch, you got to go back and watch the video on YouTube. Anyway, so no idea what's going on. Just as hard as you possibly can.
Wow.
Just smashing yourself, whatever. I was the only one that finished that workout. Only person of all, everybody that competed in that event.
Did you think it was over after that?
I not really, but I had no idea what was going on. So then you finish, and he's like, all right, next workout is 30, or I can't remember if it was 30 toes to bar or 21 toes to bar, 21 snatches at 95 pounds. By that time, it's so hot out there, you're already smashed from just crushing this, going as hard as you can on this workout. Maybe had literally how long it took him to say what the workout was. That's how long rest you had. So you start doing
Day or
toes.
night?
Day. Middle of the day.
Oh my
gosh. At the end of the weekend. So you start doing toes to bar and power snatches. I think I was doing singles on toes to bar. You can go back. All this is documented. It's all on YouTube.
That's cool.
So finish that. Same thing. All right, final workouts or next workouts 3, 2, 1, or it's 5 burpee up over this like 5 or 6 foot wall, and then 20-foot rope climbs, 3 of them, and 3 rounds for time or something like. And there was time caps on all of it. I can't remember what all the time caps were. So 3, 2, 1, go. So didn't think anything of it. I start hopping over the wall very slowly. Get to the rope. I mean, I hadn't really climbed rope in training, but I'd climbed rope a bunch of times growing up. We had a rope in the barn, but Dad was always like, don't use your feet, use your hand or use your arms. That's for pansies, blah, blah, blah. Right. Thanks, Dad. And,
he said that?
Oh, yeah. And different term, but so, I'm like, all right, I got this. So I start trying to climb. And after doing the rope getting up over the rig, doing toes to bar, doing snatches, absolutely zero grip whatsoever. So I'm struggling to try to get up, trying to figure out how to. People were taking their shoelaces off their shoes, trying to show me how to climb up, use my feet.
Gosh.
And I'm just like, you're just so fried in the moment. You can't really, you can't hear anything people are saying.
Yeah,
you can watch though, but
new.
And so people are going up and down the rope, and I'm seeing Graham. Graham's right next to me, and he was the guy that was right behind me. And I mean, I didn't really understand the points. I mean, I knew the points, but I wasn't, as seasoned as I am now at like what points do and how it all matters and all that stuff. So I'm just trying to get up this rope. That's literally all I'm thinking about at this time. And so I finally get the I go up. So as soon as I hit though, I try to come back down and just fall straight down, land straight on I hit my feet, but quick to my butt, and then hit my head on this bucket. Luckily a bucket was there because it was big concrete like barriers. So I end up getting up the rope 2 more times, and apparently Dave had made the comment, if he doesn't finish at least a round, we won't let him podium or whatever.
What?
And so workout's finished. I finished 3 rope climbs somehow. Can barely walk. My foot feels like it's broken. I sprained my ankle. I think I got over the wall 1 more time on the burpees. I don't even remember. So at this point, I don't even know what the points are. So they take us off the field or off the floor. They take us and make us drug test. And so we're drug testing. You still no idea how many points are. I'm trying to you're trying to add up stuff in your head.
Right.
You have no pee because we've literally been sitting and then just smash. So you have to sit there. We sat there for 30, 45 minutes.
Right.
Come out on the floor. And the way I found out that I got second, I believe, is I looked at the big check. It was $25,000 at the time, and I saw Graham's name on it, and I was like, dang.
Wow.
And so I got a $500 gift card to Under Armour, which I never used because I got sponsored by Reebok like a month later.
Right.
Wow.
And then so like I said, I came back and just kind of tried to get back into training, hated it. Just, it was not wasn't having fun. I kind of tweaked my back a little bit. Just couldn't train like I wanted to because of my back. Didn't want to do it because of my back. Just was in a crappy place. And so I finally figured out that, hey, why am I doing this? What am I doing? And luckily I had some mentors in Chip Pugh and CrossFit Faith and at the time, and some good guys that Chip was like, hey, if you were to die today, would you go to heaven? And of course my faith has always been a big part of who I was, but it was more of a selfish, what can you do for me type faith. And so really from that point I backtracked and was like, all right, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? And kind of figured out that, hey, I feel like my gifts from God were my fitness and just the other things that my growing up that kind of made me who I am. I said, all right, use me, show me what you want me to do. And so that's kind of where we are now. Whatever people said, I would just take their word for it. And so I didn't really know, I'd read at night, but I'd read 2 or 3 verses just to say that I read the Bible. And so I just decided that I was going to read I just started reading in Matthew. Turns out the gospel is the story of Jesus, the good news. And so I read the whole New Testament starting in Matthew and just kind of,
you took the Bible and you just decided to read it?
Yes, in a good translation though. Like, I mean, not the King James version. Like,
so which one did you read? Do you remember?
It was either ESV or NLT. So those are the 2 that I read now. Just because it's a little bit more current, I'd love to if I could someday figure out how to read in Greek and like get the true translations. That's a dream, but I don't have the time right now. And so started reading Matthew and kind of went through and was like, Jesus got baptized when he was 30 plus years old, and I was like, I was baptized when I was really young, when I was Catholic, and so I was like, I don't think that's wrong. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I want to be the one to make the choice. And so I had Chip baptize me in 2011. And so from there, I just kind of, luckily I had a good group of mentors and guys that would just kind of steer me along and never really like tell me what I needed to do, but just hold me accountable and ask questions and stuff that I could really make me think about what I was doing and where we were going.
Help you find the information.
One of the key things that I've heard you talk about was that realization, understanding that CrossFit was not who you were.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
CrossFit was something that you were
doing. Something that I was doing.
Something that you were doing.
Yeah.
But as a man.
Yeah, that's not what defined who I was. No. And that was going back to the rope thing. That was one of the big things that I figured out was CrossFit. I'd let CrossFit become who I was and an idol and put all of my just everything into CrossFit. And I still love CrossFit. We'll do CrossFit for the rest of my life.
Right.
But I'd let it define who I was. And CrossFit doesn't define who I am.
Right.
And, it doesn't make now, especially, I have 2 kids. Like me being a father, me being a good husband.
Right.
That defines who I am.
Right.
And what I stand for and the values that I stand for. That's who I am, not CrossFit.
The perspective is if we were to take CrossFit from you, then who would you be?
Who would I be?
Yeah. And how would you articulate that? Right. And so what are these values that you're living for and the things that you would say represent who you are and purpose in your life outside of CrossFit?
That's what we've been trying to figure out.
That's what the Mayhem mindset process was all about.
To compete,
to
protect,
yes,
and to challenge. Those are and challenge.
Fundamentally, in that process, we believe that you have some innate talents that are kind of the essence of who you are, and we want to get at that.
Yep.
It kind of just pours out of the middle of you.
Right.
We want a list of core values that represent strengths, emotional weaknesses in your life, and then things you aspire towards.
Right.
And then some sort of mission statement. If you can't put it into language, if you can't say it, you can't write it, you can't be it. So if you're challenged in 30 seconds to find yourself and you can't do it, that's the game that we want to play.
Right.
Then you're not ready for the greatest moments of opportunity or that darkest hour. And so we get, all of us get maybe 6, 8, 9 big moments in our life. We need to be ready, or I don't like the word ready. We need to be prepared for those moments so that we can be 100% of the person who we were created to be. And I think as I got to know you and got around you, you were living your life already connected
to those things, which just didn't have words.
Yep. And I'm living my life connected to those things, based on my darkest hour was, my wife leaving and all the stuff that went on in my story. But yet we can immediately connect to that and go, wow, like
Similar values.
yeah, this is
Similar B now that we know.
and then crazy if you want to add mindset stuff into it. So now I want to talk about psychology and all that kind of stuff. Well, we know that in order for you to compete and to be able to be present and do all the things that an athlete needs to do, that has to be outside of how you feel, outside of your emotions. You have to completely be outside of that, and you've got to be competing to get to flow based on something that's outside of you.
Right.
And you've been living that way your whole life. I mean, you just, since the rope.
Yeah, since the rope, and even growing
Yeah,
up, like
you came from
my
that.
parents. Yeah, both of my parents were that way. It was just,
Winning. It's funny to listen to people come around here and watch, and then hear them communicate. Winning is a byproduct of those positive values in your life.
Right.
It's not the point.
No.
Although you're
I want to
from
win.
the middle of who you are.
Yes.
This is in that talent, the essence of who you are. You're one of the most competitive people I have ever met.
Yep. That's pretty accurate.
You smashed me in doing some crazy boatsu ball thing that we were doing in the gym where it was me and you. There was
That's
not
such
a
a good
camera or
story.
another human being on the planet, and it's some
I'd smash
50-year-old
you.
guy,
I
and you
didn't
were like,
smash you. It was close.
well, I guess that's what I
Can
mean.
you share that story? Because that's a great story, and it's a great example of how competitive you are.
We're both doing knee rehab.
Right.
Single leg knee rehab on a Bosu ball, throwing a ball against the wall.
Right.
And Jim was like, "All right, let's see who can throw the ball against the wall." We had
30 seconds.
3 attempts,
Yeah.
both legs.
30 seconds, and we were going to do best 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
And
we
you-
turned into a competition.
He
I fell.
He got me in the first by 3 or 4, but then he fell in the second, which gave me a chance in the third. And then it was close. I mean, for the once, I stayed on the freaking ball. I'm like neck and neck with the freaking champ,
And knee
Knee rehab.
And he's like banging it out, and then
my
he kicks it across the gym. The point is that to compete is in his. We're going to say it. God created him that way. It's in his essence. Is in his be.
I would agree with that.
And truthfully, if we want to look at all of you guys in the team, that's just an innate part of who you are that puts you in that elite athlete category.
Yeah.
But winning is not the motivation. It's
Right.
it's living every day in these values and
Right.
living with purpose. And
That's
winning, it happens to be the byproduct of that. And we run into people. This is the culture war. Win at all costs. And we see that all the time in all kinds of sports and all kinds of places. And we're going to do everything. And you can win. You can get good at it, and you can win a lot.
Yeah.
Or be a better man, be a better woman, and win too.
Yeah.
Which is what we want to
believe.
do and how we want to do it. So this idea that if you can't articulate it and it's not clear, you kind of get stuck in the feeling side of things. Mostly what you're doing is motivated by emotion and feeling. And you guys know very well that
Doesn't work.
nothing based on feeling works out there. And if that's what's going to trip you up, you're going to get tripped up quick. And that's the same kind of thing in life. If you're going to make your choices and decisions solely based on emotion.
Yep.
Emotion is the icing on the cake, and it gives life meaning. The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Yep.
But it can't be the only metrics that we have to measure with. We've got to connect that to really who we are as people so that we can get to that idea of purpose. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. That'd be one roller coaster if you lived in emotion.
Yeah, I mean, I literally stayed in Cookeville, Tennessee, not knowing you, because I looked around and I was just a member at the gym, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look, these people are doing this. This is really authentically. It's not about being perfect. It's not about making mistakes. It's not being holier than anybody. It's not at all
Right.
what we're talking about.
No.
It has nothing to do with that. Faith happens to be an anchor value in your life,
Right.
but there are a whole bunch more that we can articulate that we've worked hard to define in your world.
Yep.
That faith without the action is dead. It doesn't
Right.
really work. So you can show up and have faith not be, a motivator or a value in your life, and still those principles work.
Yep.
It just happens to be something that's
one of our-
super important to who you are. So super powerful, and we see that in our culture. We see people living that way, and we wanted to put together something that would give somebody out there
A way to
a
figure
way,
it out.
a process to do it. And that's what happened in my life. I stumbled into it. My darkest hour was my wife leaves. I'm putting the kids to sleep. I don't have a clue really who I am at this point, and I don't know what to do next. And I watched the Gladiator movie.
It's a good movie.
This dude defines himself in his darkest hour. Like, he defines himself. And I'm like, man, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to set out to write that.
Figure that out.
And 12 years later, it's now a process for somebody who could actually, it's not a motivational book.
No.
We're not doing any of that.
No.
It's not a go get 'em speech. We're not doing any of that. It's
Win one
actually,
for the Gipper.
if you wanted to spend some time, and both of you have worked through it, working at it,
I'm almost there.
It's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
It's going to take being a critical thinker.
It's awesome, though.
It's fun, though. Yeah. It is fun.
And to get to that spot where literally we could, I mean, I like to think of it, you know, if we were out in the gym working out and we stopped the music and we made everybody in the gym shut up, and I put you up on a, you know, one of the boxes out there and said, 30 seconds or less, who the heck are you? Could you do it? Mm-hmm. And you're facing adversity and the things that you believe in or you've been holding on to or taken from you, can you still stay anchored off to who you believe you are and what, you know, who you are as a human being, what's unique about you, and then what you believe? Or when there's this great opportunity, how many opportunities are you going to miss in life? You know?
Yep.
I had a kid that I worked with got hired at a major university, and it was his dream, and he ends up in the elevator with the head football coach. And that head football coach doesn't care what you're going to do.
Right.
There's a huge difference between who you are or who you be in our game and what you can do. Everybody's going to tell me what you can do for me. I don't care about that. I care about who you are or who you be and how that connects to what I believe. You know what I mean?
Right.
So don't make the freaking mistake to tell him, hey, coach, I'll be on time and I'll work really hard. And nah, he's heard all that from everybody. Tell him, my name is, this is what I believe in, and then throw a little of the do in at the end. And he got a job because he could communicate who he was as a human being. Right. And nobody does that in the culture we live in.
No. He could differentiate himself.
Yeah. From the guy that says,
this is why I'm unique, man. This is why you should hire me. And then the dude who wants to hire him goes, well, this is what I believe in. This is my philosophy. And you know what? We're a good match. You know, what about getting married? How about you really be a good match for the person that you're marrying? You know, it's not that they're hot, so I'm going to marry him. That's going to be a mistake.
It's going to turn out bad.
You know, are we a good match? Is who I am uniquely and who you are uniquely, is that a good match? Are the values that we believe in, do those things overlap? You know, is there a road for us to travel down?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the other day, kind of parallel to all the work that you guys do and we do on that subject. I thought a great question for this podcast to people in general, like guests and whatnot, would be, and to you guys now, what does strength mean to you, or what is it? Because in the CrossFit world, obviously, like if I say, hey, Rich, what's strength? People are like, oh, it's a 300-pound snatch and this and that. But I just didn't know if that word had a different meaning for you guys, or if I said, hey, what does strength mean to you guys? What comes up?
So you just asked me, to identify or to describe my code, because I called it the Strength and Honor Code. And those two words represent who I think I am as far as, my talents and my abilities, or who God made me to be on this planet, then those core values in that mission statement. And so I call it the Strength and Honor Code. It's a big old tattoo on my arm. Strength for me is important, and I saw strength as I can't be moved. I'm immovable. That's what it meant. I think that this idea of words and language is super important, and you need to define yourself, and you need to look for words that are meaningful to you, and you need to make words match who you are. And I think our culture steals sometimes. It takes words and says, this is what it means, and I'm not down with that. I'm going to define myself, and I think people should define themselves. So the word strength for me, that was a big deal to me, and I searched for what I thought. And strength is, Jim, you know what? If you're going to live based on who you say you are and what you believe, then you need not to be able to be moved. Yeah, you're an immovable force. And the word honor to me was a distinction. I need to set myself aside based on the code, I need to walk into a room of people who are angry and be patient. Whatever these values are, I say I believe, I need to honor those values. And so it was a place of distinction or honor in my life. Immovable, and making sure that I'm holding myself to a higher standard, and it's distinct. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
those are the words that I applied.
I think very similar is just knowing who you are, what you stand for, and not being immovable off of those things that you stand for. I think that's, to me, is basically being who you are, knowing who you are, but being okay with it no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, like it's who you are. Not necessarily like as long as it's attached to values, not like you're a dirtbag, you know, but
no, and the caveat is always positive
always,
values. We're connecting this to something
I'm not
positive.
saying, oh, well, that's just who I am, you know,
Right.
I'm going to go out and do this. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
But, you know, being a stand-up, productive member of society and, you know, being able to define yourself,
right,
but be able to back those things up. And why are you that way?
I had a guy I was working with one time, and I've told you the story. We just got finished, and he had his code. We call it your I am. That's his purpose statement. The I believe, you know, which are the core values, and then the I will, which is your mission statement. And he'd done all the work, got through the whole process, comes walking in and throws the workbook at me. And he says to me, do you know how hard it's going to be to live this? So this becomes the challenge. So many people in our culture today say all the time, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel. And they're in that phase of searching.
Mm-hmm.
When you've defined yourself and you've put it on paper, well, now you're accountable. Now the question is, will you live what you believe?
Right.
And I'm certainly not perfect.
No.
I've made all kinds of mistakes. But I have a fighting chance because I have it in language. I have this road to run down. So the distinction, what you were just talking about, is, well, yeah, you're not confused anymore.
Right.
Before my darkest hour, I was super confused. When you fell off the rope, you were really confused about what do I do next? What do I do next? Well, the answer is not really what do you do next.
Who am I?
Yeah, let's go back first and decide who are you.
Mm-hmm.
And many people today spend all their time looking for the next do. Well, let's try this. Well,
What am I
then
gonna
let's do this. Well, let's change the way I'm doing. And that's the cart before the horse. First, define yourself. Who are you? What do you believe? And then put that in language. And then make what you do align to who you be.
Yep.
Yeah, make those things connect. And that's where you find purpose. Mm-hmm. Purpose is in, you know, the do is the job, the work, the sport. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And those two things are very different when we get that really confused. What do you, as we're working through this, what have we taught those two or three things that we talked about that really define the essence of who you are? What were those words?
Compete, protect, and challenge.
Things that just kind of pour out of the middle of you.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if it's CrossFit. It doesn't matter if
it doesn't matter what it is.
You're mowing the grass.
Yep.
We're going fast. I mean, that's kind of
what we've talked about. If those things aren't connected to values, the words that the values that we have.
Yeah.
I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, why am I competing at stuff that I shouldn't be competing at? Why am I,
Right. It's always that way. Like those things that are the essence of who you are, if they don't stay connected to something positive, they can destroy you. We talked about in the car today.
Yeah.
You were talking at Elly it just pours out of her to care, to empathize and to want to take care of people. But that destroys you if you don't keep it connected to something value, because you end up giving in so many places that
you have nothing left.
It just divides you up.
Yeah.
And so always 100% of the people I've ever worked with, when you get down to really what that is, it's actually connected to something that's really messing them up in their life. You can go right to what their main problems are and uncover that be there.
Yeah.
Because if it's not thought through, it's what kind of keeps coming out of them.
Yeah.
So for me, to challenge, to exhort, to encourage were those three words, and I use the same words you use. Mm-hmm. If that wasn't connected to something positive, it just made me a jerk. It just made me an asshole. I was speaking the truth at people all the time, or at least what I thought was. But that hurts people's feelings
sometimes.
If you don't have a relationship or it's not my responsibility. So I was taking what was in my design, just not using it connected to those values. When we talked about some of the words that were your core values?
Faith, family, fitness, loyalty.
I can't remember all of them.
I can't remember all of them yet. I'm working on it.
Yeah, we're working through it.
Yeah.
There were
intentional.
Oh yeah, that
intentional
was
one.
Yep. So we had values that were strengths, that are things that
patience,
right now.
Patience was one, because I don't have patience. That's an opposite that we were working on. I've got them wrote down here. So We can find it.
Strength values are values that man, right now. There's stuff that you've been living by, you live by, that really, really anchor your life off. This idea of weakness values are values that are the opposite of emotional traits that get the best of you, or emotions that get the best of you. I was a worrier big time, so I put hope in there, and over time worked at becoming a very hopeful person. He's talking about not being very patient, and that's a challenge for him, admittedly. So we're going to talk about being super intentional and writing language that makes him super intentional about what he does, so that he's conscious of that.
It was faith, family, fitness, loyalty, patience, sacrifice, intentional, freedom, and rational.
Yeah.
Where we were at.
And then values that you aspire to, are values that you look around and go, yeah, I want to work at that.
Yeah.
We talk about, for me, it's a living thing. It's a thing that I come back to all the time. It's the lens I'm seeing everything through all the time. I make my choices and decisions based on who I be, what my values are, and this mission statement. Is there any strength and honor in it? We still talking about what we would call your code. The idea is to write a code. It's to write personal language for your life, so that you've got that chance. Every choice, every decision, every emotion gets filtered through this process. Like we just said, you already know what to do because you've got those big rocks, those mountains you're willing to die on in place in your life. Will you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
know.
it's there.
But it's there, and
you can bounce it off of it.
And you can. I think one of the most powerful things for you in your life is, and you've talked about this, the transition that you're going through in your life from every waking hour being spent on being the fittest man on the planet, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's who you were, and that's what you were doing. And now as you've grown and you have a family, some of those, that's not as important anymore to you as being a dad and all that stuff. And you have decided to shift those gears. In that transition, man, we got to reevaluate
and make sure.
Yeah, we got to make sure that the things that we said were important, these big rocks in our life, are still in place. A lot of times professional athletes, other guys that I've worked with in the football world, man, when they get done with the sport, they forgot that CrossFit or football wasn't who they are. It had defined them. And then when they're done and they don't know where to go.
Right.
They have no idea. They're completely stuck. And so as you make this transition, man, you're keeping that in front of you. I'm always saying, aim at the truth. Aim at the truth. The truth is who you be, your values, your talents, your purpose. If you get up every day and you aim at that, then life has a tendency to fall in place around that. And so when we get up every day and we put that stuff in front of us because it's in language, well, we know where we're headed.
Right.
We don't always do it right, but you know what? It certainly straightens out. So we say, you have a way to hold me accountable. I mean, and you do that in my life.
Right.
There are a group of us dudes who we can hold each other accountable because I know how you've defined yourself.
Right.
And now I've got miles in relationship with you, and I can say to you,
hey,
bro,
don't do that.
Bro, like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, that's not who you said. Not me, man.
Right.
That's just what you said.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
You're the one that said it.
And you said, hey, man, remember to say something to me about it. And then what happens is at least every day you fall forward. At least we're not going backwards.
Right.
At least on a bad day we fall forward, and on good days we move closer towards what we say we believe.
So these are like huge points and core values. I mean, that takes a lot of time to get to that spot. Do you guys, are there any people that come to mind, or a person that comes to your mind that was, one of these things for you, or someone that impacted you greatly, and like what characteristic did they possess? So in other words, who's someone you look up to, or that matters to you as a person or a mentor, and what characteristic do they possess that helped made you who you are?
I've said it multiple times. My parents were a huge influence. I mean, obviously they were my parents, but I mean, you guys know them, both of them. They work harder than anybody I've ever met.
Yeah.
Dad's always looking for some type of project. Mom's
Look at
always
this beautiful table he put together.
Yeah. And you may complain about it, but he's always doing something. Always, what's next? What do I got to do next? What's on my list? He's got these freaking 5x3 note cards that he carries around because he can't use his notepad on his phone. But there's always something. My mom the same way, is taking food to so and so. I'm like, why? Well, just because they got to eat. So, and she's just always worked, as long as I can remember, 2 and 3 jobs. So
I'm at Chili's the other night.
Yeah.
And Chris and I are sitting up at the bar having some food, and she gets a text, and it's your mom, and there's a young lady. I don't remember what her name was. 7-8-year-old little girl that's lives up on the mountain.
Oh yeah, Honey. Mom's taken care of Honey since she was born because her mom passed away from colon cancer 6 weeks after, or no, before she was born. So mom is literally every Monday.
It's date night.
Yeah,
awesome.
I had no idea, but I have
so
just seen her continually. I want to add, you're exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this going all the way back to the word move.
Right.
Your parents and you need to continually be moving. It comes out of your DNA.
Yeah.
That's a bad thing sometimes because I can't get you to stand still and make a decision.
Yeah.
And if you don't connect move to intent, man, where's Rich? Yep. He's going somewhere at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And same with your dad and your mom.
Same thing.
But when it's connected to the value of hard work, man, they're getting something done.
Yeah.
And it's
Always.
purposeful.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's
no, that's good. I mean, that's what you're thinking.
You can see
Same
it.
thing.
You can go back in your life and in your family, and it's literally in your family's DNA.
Yeah.
And the environment that you grew up in, basically, it instilled that in your life. It groomed you as that's a part of.
Yeah, I mean,
it's part of what you do.
Watching them all, they would. We had chores all the time, but it wasn't like do this and I'm going to sit on the couch. It was like do this and I'm going to go do something else, or I'm going to help you with it, but I'm doing something too. So you couldn't quite get that frustrated. I've seen people that are like, oh, they have chores, and the
What chore
parents
did you hate the most?
Washing dishes. Hated washing dishes. Now I hate folding laundry.
But think about this. How does that apply to your sport?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That people show up here and they want to know what the magic sauce is, and we just outwork them.
Yeah.
We're just going to flat out work them.
Work.
And the young guns out here, the conversation is always, you kind of look at them, and it's funny too because you come at it from the perspective of being successful in the sport.
Right.
But you don't even get, why are we not doing work?
Yeah.
Why are we sitting around here?
Mm-hmm.
What doesn't make any sense to you?
No.
So from who you be, your DNA, how you're wired, to the environment that you grew in, to the kind of person that you are, to how you compete in a sport, all connected.
All connected.
All connected to who you be and the value of hard work in your life.
Yep.
And that's way outside of self,
right.
And that's way outside of feeling and emotion, because it doesn't matter what you feel. I think you told me one day, or was it Darren that told me when I first started, hey man, I'm going to need you to calm down. Because I come from the football world. Let's change this music. Why is this music like this really calm Jesus music, man? Why is there not some AC/DC, Hey man, I'm going to need you to calm down.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of figure out from a sports perspective, you need to keep your blood pressure low.
Yeah, you need to chill out.
Your pulse rate needs to go down.
Mm-hmm.
You need to not be hyperventilating, because breathing ends up being really important in CrossFit.
At some point.
Turns out.
Yep.
And what we need to do is just do work here.
Right.
And if we've prepared for this moment, you're going to be all right.
You'll be fine.
It's going to be okay. And then what it will be is what it will be, but you're prepared.
Right.
So I love that, because we can see from the start of who Rich is as a human being all the way to winning,
where we are,
how that's all connected.
Yep.
That's awesome. Is there anything in your lives that you have dreamt of doing that you haven't done?
Oh, so many things.
Did you go skydiving
and
yet?
why not?
Did you go skydiving yet?
No, we just talked about that today. I think that this is the other really cool thing about living connected to purpose, is that there's always something.
Yeah.
Because it's not really about the do.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, this is our opportunity too to segue into, if you're a specialist or professional in anything you want to do, we'll come do a podcast. Like, I want to drive really fast.
Yes.
And so, like, if we need a NASCAR experience instructors, or even just
anything.
Corvette racing school,
jump out of
airplanes.
Oh my gosh.
Hunting
Anything.
trips, fishing trips, whatever.
Yeah.
If you want to be
what
interviewed.
about things outside your box too? Like, what about painting?
But let's not downplay what was just being said, though. Let's make sure that message gets out there.
Yeah.
Because that's important.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the thing in Vegas?
Anything with guns.
Have you heard about the Vegas experience? So I went to go pick up my Glock the other day from the CrossFit Games 2 years ago.
I love how she just said that like it was like my Glock.
I gotta go
like
pick
she
up my
knows
Glock.
really what that is.
Which one is it? What number?
Why would you do that to me? Why? I felt really cool for 13 seconds. Thank you.
I think it's a 171, a Glock 171.
No, but it fits nicely.
Are we allowed to talk about guns? I'm just kidding. Completely joking.
So I went to go pick it up.
There's no such thing as a Glock 171, by the way.
Okay, fine.
Right.
Never mind.
Anyway, you picked up your gun. Vegas experience.
Yeah. So I had to go to like the back door, and it was dark and rainy and dreary. because the guy's been sick, so he's shutting down the shop. Long story short, whatever. So I had to like look up to the cameras and like wave twice. It was really cool. I wanted to wear like a black
This
hood.
isn't going good with the anti-gun crowd right now.
No.
Well, okay, sorry, but no. So
It was a well-lit place.
Yeah, it was all legal.
No, it was really well lit.
papers for
Cameras,
everything.
and it came out of a vault. And the guy who greeted me was jolly, and he had white hair, and he'd been in this business
Was
for
it Santa
years.
Claus?
He was jolly.
He didn't put his
He had
finger
on a
aside
red
of his
suit.
nose and fly up the building. But anyway,
It's called North Pole Firearms.
Reindeer out back? I don't
Right.
know.
you guys are horrible.
Sorry.
So I go in there, and he's like, I'm about to retire. And because I go, do you have anything awesome coming up that you're looking forward to? And he goes, sweetheart, let me tell you. And he goes, I've got the Vegas adventure. And I go, what is that? And he goes, my wife and I, we just booked a trip to Vegas. We're literally like this, I guess they have these trips where they take you and they put you in a helicopter to like shoot targets and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then you race
That's cool.
cars and you have to shoot targets. So it's like
That's
literally,
cool.
and I was like,
That'd be cool.
who came up with this idea? Was it like a movie director? And he was like, sure enough, it was some guy that was
Steven Spielberg.
Stop it. And
Spielberg?
Santa collaborated to create a business that's called the Spielberg Santa Experience in Vegas. And you fly in helicopters and
That
shoot
sounds
things.
cool.
You drive in cars and you shoot things. And it's in the desert. It's supposed to be really cool.
would
So
do
if
it.
you own this, that would be a really
Yeah.
cool adventure as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we having people reach out to? Give them an email. Dre at CrossFitMayhem.com. Oh.
Oh, okay.
All right. Never mind. Don't use that one. Or use that one. And send Dre spam.
Send Dre
You
spam.
can go to. Yeah, Dre's phone number's on the website. Just call him. The original question was
Well, I forgot now. I was too excited.
people that we.
Oh, what have we not done?
Oh,
what have
yeah.
I
What
done?
is something
And then-
you've dreamed of doing that you haven't done? And why haven't you done it?
I haven't traveled enough. That's a big deal for me. You've done a lot of traveling, but there's lots of places that I want to go see, and kind of.
I like Tennessee.
He's a homebody.
No, I
I am
love
a
living in
homebody.
Tennessee, but I want to see Australia. I'd
I'd like to see
cool
Australia.
place.
I'm not.
worth
I
it.
mean, I do like to. I don't like to travel. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's just not something
I don't like the process, to be
Right.
honest. Like if I'm there and
Right.
I've got like where I can at least do something to move,
Right.
then I'm good.
Right.
But most of the time, you're on somebody else's time. Getting there's
See, I
a
feel like you go
headache.
for like jobs and stuff, like for work, like or like things
Yeah,
that
but-
you're on someone else's schedule.
It completely messes up the whole workout routine.
Yeah.
Which makes life really hard.
Yeah, makes me angry.
Unless you're doing it like if you go to the Australian outback to go on a mountain biking trip, like that's different. You're there to fitness. And
Right.
I think that the two most incredible things about traveling are, A, you get to grow and learn in some way because people all over the world do things so differently and are raised differently. Talk about core values and things. You really
Right.
get to see the differences in those, and it makes you question who you are and are you lining up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's more out there. And I think it also, to his point too, gives you gratitude because whether you had an incredible experience or
Yeah.
a terrible experience, it should essentially make you thankful for the home that you have and what you do have
Yeah.
and the opportunities you have and the things to be thankful for because different parts of the world are very, very different than here.
The pursuit of perspective,
Yes.
seeing things from a different angle, I think is one of the most important things we can do. You
Absolutely.
know what? I'm really looking forward to being a grandpa.
That's cool.
Now, girls, daughters, if you're watching,
Take your time.
yeah,
Take your time.
20-second timeout.
throttle back. They're 25 and
No
23.
Take your time.
Everything's good. But you know what? It's kind of crazy to be perspective in that spot where I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
That's gonna be kind of
That'll
cool.
be
What's
fun.
that little grandkid gonna be like? You know. So that's something I'm thinking about.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else you've dreamed of doing?
Driving a race car.
Oh, okay. Sorry. That was your going really, really fast.
Driving a race car.
Have you've not done that on any of the tracks?
No, I'd like to do a hunt out west too, where you have to actually like hike in and do all that type of stuff. That
Is
would
a
be
gun
fun.
or a bow?
Either one.
That'd be.
I would
feel
like to learn to
punting
bow
would be
hunt.
cool.
I would really like to do that.
Oh,
There's
that
some
to me
bows at
looks
the
really
house we
cool.
can shoot.
We need to do that.
We do need to do that. Trying to think anything else.
We got some firearms training that we were trying to make happen.
Yeah.
Get
That'd be-
somebody
Nah,
up
I'm
to
pretty. I mean, I want to race a car.
I want to race a car.
I'd like to actually race a car, but
Of course you
Yeah.
would. You would.
That would be good.
You would go so recklessly fast. I can't even imagine you in
There's
a race
video.
car.
There's
I
already
know.
video on the mountain,
Oh gosh.
burning things down.
burning things down.
I've got some good pictures.
Burn
of
it to the ground.
Well, so what about like a fitness point here? We haven't really touched much on fitness. Is there anything, and I asked Hinshaw this the other day. I know this, you don't know anything about it, I guess.
Yeah.
You're a fitness bully in a good way, but you are a fitness
I was
dang
talking
bully.
to somebody, I was talking to Tasia, and I'm like, hey man, has Rich, like, has he like yet asked you, like, okay, write something on the board? Like, and then just like wiped it completely off. And she's like, no, he hasn't done that to me yet, but I've seen him do that several times, and I'm really worried about that. Like,
program
something.
I'm bad
We're not
about
doing
that. If
that.
I have something, if there's no, like we have absolutely nothing, and people are kind of, sometimes I look at other people's workouts and I just think they're stupid. I can't help it.
Right.
Sometimes I'll look at workouts, I'm like, that's a good one, I'm gonna do that.
Right.
But sometimes if I look at something, I'm like, either the numbers, it's just,
yeah.
And that's my question.
It's my gym.
Yeah.
It is your gym.
It's my
they
toys.
can do whatever you want.
There's nothing.
Noted.
Let's see. Do we have a value for
if it doesn't make
selfishness
sense?
in his life?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like they sent me yesterday, because I was Trice. For those
Are you
who
about to roast what we sent you yesterday?
So for those who don't know, Trice, we went to a pulmonologist for a checkup. Every time he gets sick, he kind of has like this wheezing, and so they thought maybe he had asthma. Turns out he doesn't have. They don't think he has asthma. So that's what we were yesterday while we were at the hospital. So he's good, happy kid all the time. Anyway, I wasn't there most of the day. I swam with him and did some accessory stuff, and then I asked Elly what they did. And she sends me back this. I don't even know how to decipher some of the stuff that was going on.
it wasn't that bad.
And
You're
I looked
so
at
dramatic.
it, and I was just kind of like, nah, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well, you
about
did
that.
actually erase the board today with everything that she had written
Yeah, I
and
was just
start
kinda
over.
like, ugh. Yeah, well, that you just didn't write it the right way.
Wasn't
It
communicated
wasn't
effectively.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
confused.
Everybody
and
was
I
confused.
think you're amazing, Elly, but it was
Unbelievable. Yeah, Diva 1 and Diva 2. It's
Come on,
fine.
Chris.
Chris, by the way, sent me back the. Hold on.
What?
So what we did
What?
was Chris wanted us to try this
Death by-
lactate building rope climb while you're fear of dying, basically
Lac-
another fear
what
of
was
dying
it?
workout. And so
Lactate something.
basically he wanted
Fear of dying.
Elly, because Elly wanted to get better at rope climbs. We did a workout the other day. We were gonna do 3 rope climbs to 22 feet, but we were in my barn, so we only had 15 feet. So what we did was Chris wanted to go 3 rope climbs and then write down how much time it took. Rest half he said rest 45 seconds and do that until you literally couldn't do a rope climb
Was it
again.
go 90,
To
rest
fail.
45?
To failure.
Yeah.
And then
It literally said
Rope
to
climbs to
failure.
failure.
and
Right.
then
so
and then
till
it
you
was
die.
ski erg sprints for 15 seconds with a 45-second rest. So he was just basically trying to kill her. And so
Fall off the rope.
we kind of changed it a little bit because we only
hour.
had the 15-foot instead of the 20-foot. So we just went 90 seconds max rope climbs for 5 sets with a 45-second rest between. You had to write them down. So mine were 7 all the way through. Elly's were 5, 4, 4, 4, 3. And so I just screenshotted the board and sent it to Chris. I'm going
I
to speak
haven't
for
heard
Chris
this.
right here. Very validating results. Your ability to recruit fast-twitch muscle units, as well as your ability to keep these recruited fast-twitch muscle units firing under very high levels of lactate, really shows solid depth with this movement. Just like I was mentioning, Elly is unable to recruit and fire a sufficient quantity of fast-twitch fibers to get a competitive number of reps. Look at her quality round 1. Also, her numbers, reps, fall because fast twitch demands of the movement plus the amount of rest between reps is insufficient, all causing an increasing accumulation of lactate, which ultimately causes her muscles to start shutting down further, compounding her performance. Also, just like we spoke, Tasia can recruit a large percentage of fast twitch fibers, which is why she hits 7 in round 1. Plus, her ability to continue pulling under increasing lactate is evident. However, her rep fall off continues because her ability to clear fatigue, recover, is limited because the insufficient amount of rest as well as her underdeveloped slow twitch recovery fibers. For tomorrow, it would be very interesting to do a one fresh 15-second ski sprint and compare the distance against the average today. I would bet Tasia will have the largest spread and Elly will have the smallest spread. I'm really see this is Chris right here. Next message. I'm really looking forward to supporting your efforts to get the teammates doing accessory workouts that target specific weaknesses. What a dude. Chris is a man.
He's
This guy.
amazing. But what's really interesting is that, like, at the long, hard stuff,
Oh, Elly crushes
You kill
everything.
it.
But no,
You
the
just
whole
smash it.
reason we
She
did this was I texted
smashed
him and
me
I
on
said,
the
after
run, swim, run.
we did the...
go to the pool and nobody competes with you but him.
Eh.
But him.
Don't even get me started. But the reason we did this is because we did the rope climb workout the other day, and I got smashed.
Right.
And like, I feel like there's like a certain like.
For the viewers, Tasia went 7.5554.
I feel like there's a certain amount of like, if we're all within like a certain amount of minutes or time, that's like, okay, you know, this is fine. I can still work on this. I got smashed, like just pummeled.
Right.
And I was really upset. And I was like, you know,
Right.
how am I this bad at this movement? I know I struggle with fast twitch movement. So I texted Chris and I was like, can you please, like, what can I do to
Right.
figure out how to increase moving quicker or no, it was capacity with upper body movements and gymnastics.
Right.
Just muscle fatigue.
Yeah, and he came back with just
Muscle
this
endurance.
incredible. He stopped on his way to the airport and was like, "Here, this is what you need to do." And he always takes it a step further. It's not just like I asked for this, and then he's like, "And Tasia needs to do this,
Right.
and everyone needs to do this," and then sure enough, we do it, and I got smashed again, and I'm gonna keep getting smashed until one
It's
day
super
it gets
cool
better.
though, because he can really lay it out in a way that's you can really
Understandable.
understand it.
Yeah.
And take something that could be complicated that maybe people don't want to think about. And he was talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in CrossFit, the intensity is something that everybody really wants to do,
But nobody does.
And they don't do it.
right?
Yeah.
But not done
Properly.
Do a ton of volume,
Right.
but not the intensity done properly.
Right.
So you might do a ton, but it's not actually helping you.
No.
Well, and you couple some of the things that he says and ideas with how Rich programs, and it's like the perfect storm. Like, I'm kind of concerned for the rest of the week we all might die, you know, but in the best way. Like, I mean that in the most positive way.
So now that I've been around, he has a tell when he's thinking. You know, now that I've got to watch, and it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Because
Saying I don't think very often.
no, you're always thinking. That's the one thing I don't. Maybe people give you credit for.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when Chris is around and
Light
you guys
bulb.
are on the whiteboard, you'll take a step back, and you put your arms behind your back, and you start thinking about it. And
Your
he's
thinking
one
face.
of those people that, you know, in your life that makes you think,
Yeah.
and you'll think about it. Where most other people, you just kind of erase the board and we go on.
Next.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
All right. I think we're at an hour. Right at it. Well, that was a good episode, I think.
Yeah.
So no guests. Sorry. If you wanted guests,
Coming up.
Yeah.
at Hillary Froning.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be epic.
Check us out. CrossFitMayhem.com. Froning and what? We do FroningandFriends.com. I was like, we don't have an Instagram. Check all of our Instagram stuff. CrossFit Mayhem, CrossFit Mayhem Freedom. What's Rich doing? Rich Froning.
That's coming up
At
too.
Elly is yours
Kaboard.
Kaboard, and that at Jimmy underscore Hensel.
But we really
yeah.
want to change it to Jim Silver.
Jim Silver.
Jim Silver. Oh yeah. And if you want to come train with us, have some fun, maybe talk some of this mindset stuff. January 27th, 26th to the 28th. Friday night, all day Saturday,
Woo.
Sunday morning. We just come in, have some fun.
So much fun.
Work out a lot, hang out, play some games.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff. Some Q&As. So come see us. Come hang out. We'll have some fun.
Yay.
Episode 13.
13.
That's a wrap.
11, 13.